Hello and welcome to another episode of the Family Gamers Podcast. This is episode 422.
Hey, hello everybody. We are excited to be here. We're trying out a new, episode format, a new topic type this week.
Yeah, we're going to do an audio review, a brand new format for us. We're calling it 1, 2, 3.
We're going to play a game 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and then we're going to talk about it. And this week, we are going to talk about the game Tidal Blades 2.
But first, you have a fact for us, right?
I do have a fact. So 422, not an easy one, but I found a fact about an airline hijacking.
An airline hijacking?
Yes, Kuwait Airways Flight 422. So this was way back in 1988. So this was, 38 years ago?
Pre-TSA.
Yep, for sure. Here's what's interesting about this. I'm just going to run through the facts about this, which is wild. It was one of the longest hijackings in aviation history. Do you want to know how long this hijacking lasted?
How long was it?
16 days.
What? How?
So they hijacked a Boeing 747, operated by Kuwait Airways, of course. The flight originated in Thailand, departed from Bangkok, and was headed toward Kuwait City. So if you think about that, that's like halfway across the world, pretty much.
Fairly long.
The hijackers demanded the release of military prisoners.
Okay.
They wanted Kuwait to release several militants connected to bombings in Kuwait during the 1980s.
Okay.
Obviously, they weren't in the air for 16 days. The aircraft was forced to land in multiple countries. Under a hijack, the airplane landed in Mashhad, Larnaca, and Algiers, and then obviously took off again.
Wow.
So pretty wild, pretty nuts. They actually made a TV show about Flight 422
like
that you could look up.
TV movie or something.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. It's just pretty nuts that, an airline... I don't even, know when the last airline hijacking was that we really heard about, right? It's something that basically doesn't happen anymore because of the security precautions that happened more or less after 9/11. So, we don't hear about them at all. So it's just kind of wild to just read this story. You can go to Wikipedia to read all about the hijacking of Flight 422. That's my fact.
I have a message from our sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
For the next few episodes, we're going to be talking about a theoretical family that might be looking for some financial advice. So here's the theoretical family. Say we are a young married couple. We make $100,000 a year between the both of us. And our net worth, which is our assets minus our liabilities, that includes things like student loans, is small, like maybe $25,000. We rent, and we're just starting our savings. We'd like to buy a home in the next 5 years, and also be in a good position when we start having kids in a few years. What are some real-world examples of how First Move can help here, and what is it going to cost us? One of the first concerns from a prospective client like this is whether or not they can afford to work with First Move. So looking at this example, they say they have income of $100,000 and a net worth of about $25,000. Their monthly fee would be around $90 a month. If you want to see an estimate of what your fee would be to work with First Move, you can go to firstmovefinancial.com/familygamers and scroll down a bit. There's a fee calculator on that page, as well as a way to set up a quick phone call to see if First Move is a good fit for you.
Thanks so much to the team at First Move for sponsoring another episode of the show. So our second half, I think, is going to be pretty long, especially compared to what it's been in recent memory. So I think we're going to run through our first half of the show a little bit quicker than usual. But I do want to talk about some games that we've been playing. First one on the list, an oldie but a goodie. We played Fleet the Dice game.
Yeah, we had remarkably low scores in this game.
I think we used to play it a lot. And
I think it's also just the way the dice rolls worked out.
Yeah, I think that's true. I certainly know that there are defined strategies to this game, and I just think it's been so long since we played. Yeah, that we forgot them all exactly. But it was a lovely time. It's a fantastic game. I should mention that 25th Century is releasing the new version of Three Sisters. It's got a campaign in it.
Or something.
So Three Sisters, of course, was the game that came out of Motor City Gameworks after Fleet Dice. So this is Matt Riddle and Ben Pinchback, and their next game, and then after that was Motor City, and They did another one like the French Quarter or something like that. So they've released a new version of Three Sisters with some added content and stuff like that. So if this kind of game, this sort of heavy, weighty roll and write is up your alley, definitely take a look at what 25th Century is doing with the new version of Three Sisters. But anyway, so Fleet Dice, love that game. What an absolute classic that game is.
We also played a game of Carnuta, which we talked about a while ago now. This is the first time that we had played it at 3 players, though.
Yes. I really like this game. So, just kind of quickly, for those who don't remember, Carnuta is a game where you are acquiring cards and you have to pay a cost to acquire said cards. And you pay that cost with runes, which are either sun runes or moon runes. And sometimes the cost is paid by flipping a rune over. So these little rune stones have suns on one side and moons on the other. Other times you would be discarding the rune stones back into the general supply. And of course, there's a method for refreshing, so you have more rune stones so you can continue. But this game has interesting combinations of these cards. So sometimes the cards will give you additional scoring, mechanics, right? Certain symbols score a certain number of points, or a combination of symbols might score a certain number of points, but also those cards are giving you certain symbols. And so you're constantly trying to balance these two things where you're getting cards that provide you with symbols, but you're also getting cards that give you scoring conditions that the symbols that you have will benefit from, that kind of thing. So it's this really, I like this. This is like right up my alley, this kind of weird balance sort of thing.
It's the balancing and maximizing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I win every time. In fact, I don't think I was anywhere near the winner. I think I lost by 10 points, but I like it a lot. It hits a lot of my pleasure centers. The stones are like, they're not cardboard. They've got some weight to them. I like them. It's just a nice feeling
plastic,
game.
But they're like,
but
they're
weighty. But they're weighty.
Weighty thing. Yeah.
The game's got nice art to it. It's got a good look and feel. It does this silly thing where the box is double-sided, like there's the front and the back of the box, and there's a sleeve that goes over it, and you can put the sleeve on in either direction. And so the air quote front of the box,
can
like
be different.
That says Carnuta on it, can be different. I like that. It's just a lot of nice things.
That part reminds me of a CD I used to have back in the day. I mean, I'm sure we still have it somewhere, where the liner notes had multiple types of cover art on them, so you could change out.
Sure, you could flip them and swap
flip it over
yeah.
So, and have a different cover on them.
Yep, I love it.
CD.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yep, same thing. Yeah. But anyway, so that's Carnuta. Really like that game a lot. Going to be playing a lot more. That's something that we originally found out about at PAX Unplugged, and we just got in maybe last month for a review.
I also played some more of S'mores Galore, Roast and Write. And my review for that went up last week. The short version is, it's fine.
Yeah, it's if you want a s'more-themed roll and write game, go nuts.
Best s'more-themed roll and write game I've ever played. Yeah.
Maybe the best s'more game we've played.
Well, S'mores Galore, the card game, is the best s'mores-themed game I've ever played.
Okay.
This is not that, but it's fine. I would say it is a bit harder to get your mind wrapped around, but also the goals are simpler, which is a weird combination. If you want to know more, click through the link in the show notes and read my review. I've also been playing some more of the solo game Adventurous and writing up a review for that. This has been another real winner from Button Shy as far as I'm concerned. I pulled you into playing it once. I think we may have
talked about that on the last
time.
show. Yeah.
I'm really, really enjoying it, and I'm working on the review for that one as well. It was surprisingly fun to photograph, although also kind of surprisingly hard, because I always play out the games for real to photograph them. I don't just set stuff up. And my paths went in directions I was not anticipating when I started setting them up on my desk, and then I ran out of room.
Well, the same thing happened when we played it at the
same thing happened
restaurant.
When we played at the restaurant. Yeah.
Just goes to show you how organic the game is.
Yeah.
We also played some more tag team. I won this time.
Yeah.
And also my opinions are definitely not settled. Moderating is a fair way to say it, I guess. It's not because I won this time. I want to say that up front.
No, we were talking about it halfway through the game, that you were feeling better about how it was fitting together.
I guess the funny thing for me is that the simpler characters in this game, I don't know, I bounce off of them. And I think that, our conversation the last time, we talked about it on the show, about how you really have to play the character that you have and not the way you want to play the game.
Yeah.
I guess I knew that, but I didn't really accept it.
Sure.
And I think the characters that I got this time around, I guess I'll say it like this, I found their abilities more interesting and was more willing to play the part. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah, and so because I could see the elegance of these two characters' abilities working together and doing some cool things, I was like, all right, I could get behind this instead of you do nothing, you do nothing, you do nothing, you do nothing for a while, and then you do something. Like, that was just very boring and frustrating. This time around, I could actually do things.
Well, it's not necessarily that you do nothing, though. Like,
you get more mad. Like,
I mean, some characters, their starting card is something that's going to build up for a long time. But that means that you then supplement it with cards that don't do that. If you're sticking a bunch of cards in your deck that are like, oh, well, eventually this is going to be great, but I have to sit through a whole bunch of it not being great, that's not going to be a fun game for you.
Well, and that's what happened to me twice in a row.
I had the opposite problem in the last game we played, where I saw a couple of cards really early on in the game that would allow me to do some healing going forward. And I looked at it and I said, but the side effect on this is really, it's not helpful to me right now, and I don't actually need to heal for a while, and it's more important for me to attack. And so every single one of those that I saw, I passed by. Until I finally grabbed one, I was like, okay, I think it's time for me to start being ready to heal now. And you killed me before that card could fire off the first time.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of balance required in the game. And some of it is not just the balance of what you're putting in your play stack.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the balance in your mind of how much of this power buildup am I willing to sit through to get to a theoretically better place in the future versus how much do I want to be doing right away that might not be so great as we get further into the game.
Right.
So.
Well, and because the sooner you put those cards into your play stack, the more times it's going to fire off over the course of the game.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this, and I think that this is a game that I find to be a more rewarding deck programming game than Colt Express.
Okay.
Which,
I mean,
feels like a very different game because it is.
Colt Express is built on the chaos of the whole thing, really.
Right, but it is absolutely deck programming.
Oh, yeah,
right?
It totally is.
I would rather that our decks are separate, but I'm still trying to anticipate what's going to come and line up my own deck for that.
Right.
Than to just hash it all out by throwing them together at the same time.
Right.
You know?
Well, and it feels very different, not only because you have your own deck and I have my own deck, but also because you're seeing the same programmed deck over and over and over and over again. That's a big difference here. And I think it's good, but I also think that it makes it a lot harder to wrap your mind around than I expected it.
Well, the chess game here is how you're going to slightly alter your card order by inserting another card somewhere in that whole thing, right?
Right.
Like, that's the chess game of this whole thing, because it's like, okay, that third card keeps hitting me, so I can make a change here, and I can add something in before that third card so that the timing is different, right? Or something, or I can add something in that will block that third card for you, but then at the same time, you could be like, I think he's getting sick of this, so I'm going to put something in to push it one card later, so it's still, you know what I mean? Like, so there's a chess game around how you put that next card in to manipulate your deck, and I think that's a really interesting thing, and it's way less chaotic than something like Cold Express, which, like, has its place.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't play a lot of deck programming games simply because I'm just not exposed to them all that much, I guess, and this is interesting. I will also say that it was announced. Was it actually announced? Other
Recently.
than just the slip of paper that was in the tag team box, that there's going to be I think an 8-character tag team standalone expansion of characters from Arthurian legend.
6. It's called Tag Team Arthur's Legacy.
Yeah. Man, I think I'm in on that, right? That's my jam. So I guess that says everything I need it to say.
So your options are going to be Morgan, Merlin, the Dragon, Percival, the Green Knight, and Excalibur.
Oh, Excalibur is a character.
I have a feeling they are going to lean into the absolute weirdness, especially since I see the Green Knight and Excalibur as options here. The absolute weirdness of the legend of King Arthur.
Well, my great regret here is that Archimedes is not a playable character. Because as you know, Archimedes is the best character from the Sword and Stone.
Archimedes is not actually part of the legend
I don't
of
care.
King Arthur.
Not relevant. Archimedes is the best character.
Merlin's sidekick for life.
Yes, I love him.
Hashtag.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. Anyway, wait, so you're trying to tell me that Merlin did not go to Bermuda?
Probably not.
All right. Anyway, so Anitra is turning the tide on tag team with me. So I guess that's all I have to say.
Honestly, I'm liking it less as we go through and play.
That's
it.
interesting.
I was always kind of mid on it. I would say I'm cooling on it. I'm not against playing it. I'm happy to play it. But I've played it enough now that I'm like, yeah, this is not in my top 5 or really even my top 10 head-to-head games.
I think I like it more than Dice Throne and less than Unmatched right now.
I would also feel that way, but I am really not a fan of Dice Throne.
Yeah,
I
I
wish I was. I want to be, but I just don't like it.
Sure.
So tag team is better than that.
Yeah, better than I don't like it. Wow, what a strong stance
Sorry,
you have
man.
there. That's okay. All right, the last game on the list is Tidal Blades Rise of the Unfolders, which I'm going to flat out table because we're going to talk about it for half an hour plus in a little bit. Did you have anything else, Anitra, that did not quite make the list?
No, when you first put together this list, I then added S'mores Galore, Roast and Right, and Adventurous. That's it.
Sure.
That's all I got for the last 2 weeks.
Well, not a lot of playing, but that's okay. We'll get back to it pretty soon. Let's jump over to the community and say hello to 3 people. What do you think?
I think we should do that. So only 3 new members in the Facebook community this week, but we are still very happy to have you. We have a very suspicious but cute looking cat sniffing around a stuffed toy.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a stuffed rabbit.
I think so.
It's got big feet and big ears.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to start us off by saying hello and welcome to Carrie.
Welcome to Hardy.
And welcome to Sana. Thank you so much for joining the community. Please start asking some questions about, anything that we could do to help you guys out. Answer some questions, about games that you're looking for, or maybe if you've got thoughts about games and other people are asking questions, please feel free to weigh in.
And while we're talking about community, in the last podcast, we asked you for back talk about games that are just too tempting for you.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that you can't stop yourself from buying.
Right.
We got a few responses, both in the Facebook community and on the Discord.
So, Anitra, you opened it up on Facebook saying it is small box games, especially ones that you can play solo. And you shared a picture of a lot of games.
I shared a picture of the 2 small containers we keep upstairs for my small box games. This does not include all of the small box games in storage downstairs with our main game storage.
Yeah, I see 4, count them, 4 of these card mystery things from Grand Gamers Guild. We have got to play those.
We have got to play more.
We definitely have to play those. All right. What do you got on Discord, Anitra?
On the Discord, Peter Schott says, engine building games. There's something really fun about these with building up the engine, whether it's deck building, worker placement, whatever, anything other than trades or auctions. He loves engine building games. And then he says, of course, I spend so much time building the engine that I lose the game. But I still really enjoy that.
Been there, my friend. Oh, man. Furnace. Ugh. Anyway, Joseph Reniger on Facebook. If there's a new exit the game or unlock, we are pretty sure to buy it. We love cooperative escape room games. I agree. I would say the bespoke ones are really interesting. So you can actually find a bunch of creators on like Etsy who are making these like handmade escape room games. Like, I really like the unlocks and the exits and stuff like that, but to a degree, there's something a little formulaic about it. And I really love the idea of mixing that up a little bit with some of this really handcrafted stuff that we've seen. I would also say if you don't have the holiday hijinks chest or whatever it is, that's definitely something to look into as well. Although, Joseph, I think you might have won a copy of that in one of our giveaways. That sounds familiar to me. So maybe you do have those.
Also on the Discord, SMS 137355 says city building games or developing an area. I'm a sucker for something that makes me feel like I'm building a city or expanding things like that.
I get that too. Nick says, Nick Martinelli, of course. The great, the legendary Nick Martinelli. Theme definitely draws me in. I need to feel immersed in something, and art plays a big role. A perfect example is Reign of Dragoness. It's a card ladder climbing, card shedding game themed around dragons. If I play this with a standard deck of cards, it would feel bland and I'd probably pass. I love roll and write games, so I'm always on the lookout for new ones. That category never gets old for me. On the other hand, I have a hard no for party games and trivia. Party games tend to drag on. I played a lot of Cards Against Humanity in my early 20s, along with games like Apples to Apples, and that was enough. They don't hold my attention, and I get bored quickly. Give me Strike or Roll for it over those style of games any day.
I think that's fair.
I'll say it again. Cards Against Humanity is trash. Don't ever play it.
Funny enough, our next response on the Discord is from Ken Walter, who also says, theme tends to drive most of my decisions. I like playing a game that puts me in the environment of a movie or a TV show or a book that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm. I get it. I totally do.
Yeah.
Mike Wilson on Facebook says, cat games. My daughter loves them. I can't turn down a good deal either. What was that like insane rainbow cat game? Do you remember? Man, I'm going to try to look this up. Mike, check out the show notes for this show. If I can find it, I'm going to send it to Anitra and she'll put it in the show notes. There was this game. It was like a cat wizard unicorn something. It was all crazy colors. I don't remember.
Are you talking about Sparkle Kitty?
No, not Sparkle Kitty. It was something else.
Okay.
It was something else. If I can find it, I will.
And our last one in the Discord is from the Doidville Jedi. He says, there's no sneaking. I think somewhere we said, are there games that seem to sneak into your shopping cart or sneak into your house? So there's no sneaking. He says, the main thing I seek, a continuation of series of board games I already own. Mostly cooperative games. I get pulled into the hype and interested in games that others say they've enjoyed. Short, fun, easy to learn, and easy to teach games are hard to pass up, but those tend to be competitive. And again, he's looking for mostly cooperative. Anything that looks innovative and fun. I spend too much time looking, probably. I'm past the gluttony phase of my overwhelming collection, but I don't stop looking. I mean, I guess I'm glad that you don't stop looking because it's part of why you listen to our podcast and participate in the Discord, but the more you look, generally, I find the harder it is to keep saying no. So, maybe look less?
I mean, that's certainly an option, I suppose. All right, well, we are going to have a back talk question at the end of the show after we talk about Tidal Blades, but we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it's going to be a lot of Tidal Blades, Anitra.
A lot.
All right.
But it'll be worth it.
We'll be right back. All right, and we are back from our break. So, Anitra, what's our topic today?
Our topic is 1, 2, 3.
Tidal Blades 2. So, yeah, that's right. We've played Tidal Blades 2 3 times. This is a very large game. And so, in the same way we did snap reviews for smaller games, we're doing this 1, 2, 3 thing with some larger games. And we're playing it and talking about it, and then playing it again and talking about it, and playing it a third time and talking about it. And we played it for the third time earlier today. And so that's going to be our topic for this week. But we talked about this 7 episodes ago, episode 415. We're going to go into the Wayback Mobile. And we're going to listen to what we thought about Tidal Blades 2 for the first time. Then we're going to come back and we're going to cut to our second time impressions. And then finally we'll wrap them up with our thoughts from this morning.
You know, just now.
All right. Get ready. Let's move on to another game that involves investment as a reviewer. And that is Tidal Blades 2, Rise of the Unfolders. So this is a game that we've had for a little while. Honestly, this game came in 3 packages. I mean, it is just very daunting to kind of get into it.
Yeah.
But once we got locked in, got everything all set up, we were sent the miniature set as well. So it's just like really nice. I mean, I think we had James Hudson on the show a while ago, and he said, look, if there's anything we're guilty of, it's being extra. And that is 100% true.
That is very true of this game.
However, here's what I'm going to say. First of all, really enjoyed playing it. I think you, me, and Asher had a good time.
Yeah, it was good.
I think I really like the way the tile board works with powers. It's a really nice ebb and flow to getting a little bit more powerful and then getting it's like a fight, right? Like think a WWE fight where it's like you build up and then you have some, big turn and then you kind of have to take a step back and kind of recover a little bit. Really, really fun like that. The narrative is pretty cool. You can actually buy professionally read narratives if you want to, which is kind of a neat thing. I don't think that's our jam. But one thing that I will say is I think mechanically this game is much tighter than Tidal Blades 1. It is a totally different kind of game, but as much as I enjoyed Tidal Blades 1, and certainly the art and the world are incredible, I would get all this stuff set up, and Asher and I would play, or 3 of us would play, and then we'd be like, that was a lot. Like, that was very much the juice wasn't worth the squeeze of it all.
Yeah, kind of like we'll finish a game and be like, that's it?
Yeah, it's like, I feel like for what we went through to get this on the table, it should be at least twice as long. Again, we're talking about Tidal Blades 1. With this one, first of all, the chapter was almost like in two phases, or like the battle we were doing was almost like in two phases. So it had a natural pause point in it if we wanted to stop playing.
Which we did need to briefly.
Briefly, but it was brief. It wasn't like we, went off and had dinner or something. But that part was nice. And then we came back and we kind of finished, and then we did like all the rewards for completing the chapter and da-da-da-da-da. So all of that was good. After playing this game one time, I went and found the STL files for a 3D printed insert. And I actually took some pictures that we will include with the review.
Sure.
It's like a soft negative for the game, I guess. Again, if you're going to accuse them of being anything, it's being extra. There were just so many bags of stuff in this game. Like, bags are fine, but they don't always do a good job of organizing when there's this much stuff.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, well, there's all these different kinds of cards, and then each of the 6 possible characters has their own set of cards. It's just a giant pile.
Right, and that's what
that you have to sift through.
In order to get the game started the first time, we were like, okay, like just literally sort into stuff we will use in this game and other stuff we won't use in this game.
And even that took probably 20 minutes.
Yes,
because
exactly.
because we were unfamiliar with a lot of it too, right? So it's a double whammy there.
Mm-hmm. Now we have trays that we can pull out, like trays where like, okay, this is like the tray for distribution, right? So now we don't have to go get all the little bits trays that we usually use for other games. Like, all that stuff's all sorted out. It's going to be much easier. We have little card boxes, so we can be like, okay, pull the card box out. We're going to need this small amount, and then put it back, and then put it off to the side. We won't need it. Like, I literally needed an auxiliary table. And our table's not small. I mean, it's not huge, but it's like a 5-foot by 3-foot table.
Yeah.
And I needed another table for all the stuff.
As we were trying to sort out and get stuff together. Once we were set up, it only took the one table.
Right.
But the process of setting up was a lot.
It was a lot. And, in some ways I felt some of that with the first Tidal Blades, but like this one, once it was set up, it was together and it felt meaty. Like, there was meat on these bones, which I really liked.
Yeah.
So that's, look, that's a Druid City Games game, right?
Well, and I was like, for me personally, I had to walk away because I'm like, this is too much setup for me. It's too much. I cannot handle it.
Yep.
Tell me when it's ready and I will come back and play.
Yes.
I'm beginning to understand that about myself now. I'm not completely opposed to this sort of medium heavy game, but you really lose me if it's more than about 10 minutes of setup.
Anitra is not the one who reads the rulebook in advance, okay?
I mean, for some games I will.
Well,
but
like for a big, like, you're not the one, if a game requires a teach, that's not you.
Yeah, it's really not.
And that's okay. That's fine. That's okay. That's what Asher's for.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's Tidal Blades 2. We're going to play this a bunch more. We'll be talking about it. Eventually we'll review it, hopefully sooner rather than later. It's a lot, but it's good. All right, everybody, we are back. This is play number 2 of Tidal Blades 2. So, once again, our 1, 2, 3 series that we're trying out, where we're going to play a game once, talk about it, twice, talk about it, a third time will be the charm, we hope.
Yeah, this is Tidal Blades 2, Rise of the Unfolders.
I gotta be honest with you, Rise of the Unfolders sounds like an Incredibles title to me.
It sounds like an Avengers title to me.
I mean, so, something along those lines.
Idea.
Yeah, sure. All right, so let's talk about this game. So if we remember from the first time we played it, we opened the box and there was just stuff everywhere and it was incredibly overwhelming. This time around, I had gone through the process of doing this whole 3D print organizer thing that I found on BGG. Did that help the experience?
Somewhat. Not entirely, because there was a lot of the 3 of us playing, fumbling around and saying, oh, we need to set up this thing. Where is that? I don't know.
Well,
and going through everything.
It was a lot better than before.
Yes, it was a lot better than a giant box full of unlabeled bags. So it was better. It was not great, but also I feel like if we can start playing this more frequently, it will become more intuitive, I think.
Yeah, look, so we've talked about this with similar games of this weight. Like, we talked about this with the Shovel Knight game and with other games like that. There is a lot in this box. We were very fortunate that Druid City Games, James Hudson, sent us the deluxe version. So we have the minis, all of the Sundrop finished minis, which are absolutely gorgeous. They're so beautiful. They're so beautiful.
We have the squishy fruits and the pearlescent little shells.
Yeah,
Those are pretty cool.
Super nice. The last time James was on the show, he said, if we're guilty of doing anything, it's being extra. And I think this was yet another example.
This game is definitely extra.
Of them being extra. So there's a lot of pieces. And this time around, we were able to have a lot of that stuff. I actually ended up throwing out a large bag of pieces once we kind of went through and figured out what the cardboard stuff was that was duplicated by the mini stuff and all those things. So there was a bunch of stuff that was not extra, which helped us play this game. Not extra, not great, but not additional things that were of a lower quality than the amazing mini replacements that we had. So from a setup perspective, it still was a little overwhelming, but it was better.
You mentioned Shovel Knight before, and the amount of setup required, I would say, is similar between the two because there's a lot of modular things going on here. There's lots and lots of enemies and lots of options and player setup that you're doing every time. And then there's a scenario, and the scenario is going to have enemies, and there's a different number of enemies and placements depending on how many players you have. It all makes sense, but it's a lot to get into. The other thing is that although the game itself was really making sense to me, it took a while to get back in the mode of how do these rules work? What do these symbols mean? And because of that, in part because of that, once the whole game was set up, it still took us 2 hours to play. Somehow in my head, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of this is the reality that we don't have a dedicated gaming space that we can leave something set up for a period of time. And the fact that we have to set up all of the infrastructure and then set up the unique scenario, even though we were way more familiar with it now as compared to the first time, and, things kind of click together a little bit faster, it still just takes time.
Yeah, this would be a great game to be able to leave set up and play through a whole scenario or maybe, a couple of rounds, be able to walk away from, and then come back the next day and play it again. But we don't really have the luxury of doing that. We could probably leave something set up for a full day if we really needed to, but any longer than that, and it becomes a real hardship.
Well, I think it was the first time we played Tidal Blades, we actually left it set up for a while.
We did scenario 1 the first half, and then we had to stop and go do other things. And then we did the second half of the scenario, much later in the same day.
Right. So, that was nice. That was a nice experience. So I would say, if you've got that kind of opportunity, if you have a game room where you can leave something set up, if you are a serial monogamous gamer where you play a game through all the way to the end or whatever it might be, something like Tidal Blades is really going to benefit from that. Because even though this was our second play and a lot of the things we kind of already knew, there is enough there that we had to remind ourselves.
Let's be totally fair. It's also been 2.5 months since we played it last time. So I am hoping that maybe if we can do the next play next week or something like that, some of this stuff will come back a lot faster. The setup is still going to be a bear, but the actual playing should maybe, hopefully, involve less constant reaching for the rulebook.
Yeah. So I think that's true. Through the magic of editing, it's going to be 5 minutes for everybody who's listening to this, but for us, it'll be a little bit longer. One thing I will say, now that we've actually played this a couple of times, and we had the original Tidal Blades, and we played that a few times as well, first of all, this has a much more defined narrative than the original Tidal Blades did.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? Yeah. They're doing a lot of world building with the world of Naviri. There's a whole RPG core rulebook and all this other stuff. So that's not really that much of a surprise. But you're playing through scenarios. And I really like the way they're using these spiral-bound map books. So there's actually multiple books that you put together to make the map for each one of these scenarios. I really like that part of this game a lot. And I find that it is already layering things on. So in this second mission, I don't think this is ruining anything or spoiling anything, they add individual goal cards, and the goals are really pretty achievable things. So what these will end up doing for you is everybody has a piece of paper that is kind of their legacy tracker, character sheet kind of thing. And there's all these skills that if you hit these goals, you can build up those skills, and those skills are going to give you new cards for the deck that you have.
Yeah. I did think it was really interesting that the rulebook goes into detail that any one of these goal cards actually has 2 goals on it. Every character sort of has 2 paths they can go down in terms of skills.
But it's not a hard bifurcation.
It's not a hard bifurcation. You can bounce back and forth. You can complete the goals for both skills. But if you complete both goals on your card in a given scenario, you get basically full experience on one of your choice and a minimal amount of experience on the other one. The same as if you had completed a goal and then died.
Yeah. So the way this tracks, there's knowledge and there's power. Not to be confused with Spider-Man.
Yours is knowledge and power.
Oh, yours are different?
Mine is family and revenge.
Oh, how interesting. Well, there's, two different things, whatever they are.
Yeah.
They're different
Day
by
and night
character.
kind of thing.
Yeah. If you complete one of those goals, you get 3 points on that track.
Yeah.
If you complete both of them, you get 3 points on either one and 1 point on the other one. So you're still really defining the core personality of your character, even if you manage to accomplish everything.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say about this, if you have played the original Tidal Blades, Heroes of the Reef, this game is more complicated, like for sure. Heroes of the Reef, if you remember from when we played it, there was a lot of setup and it was beautiful and it was fun to play, but it really left you unsatisfied.
It was like 5 turns.
Yeah, like it was just like, okay, for everything that we've done to get here, this game needs to be twice as long. I do not feel that way about Rise of the Unfolders. When we finish a scenario, I feel satisfied. I feel like I've done something with consequence to it. It's got some weight, some gravitas. We've completed a scenario. I love the way the mechanics work with the board, with the cards that you play and all that stuff. The Nexus grid is, I think, what it's called.
Yeah.
I really like all that stuff. I feel like there's enough meat here that, yes, it's a little bit of a bear to set all of this stuff up, but like I feel like I've accomplished something by the end of that game.
It does feel worth it to me. Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's what you're getting at. We've been going right down middle of the road on difficulty on this, which I think is worth noting because as we were cleaning up and I'm looking in the rulebook, I was like, oh, hey, if we did really well, we would get like a boon thing. And if we were doing really poorly, we would get like a curse thing. But the goal of those is actually to bring the difficulty back to the middle. And we're just sitting right in the middle. Like, we're not doing amazingly well, but we're surviving and we're hitting our goals.
Right.
And it feels about right, honestly. Like, I would not be as satisfied if there were fewer enemies or if they were easier to fight significantly.
Yeah, like I really felt like when we played this, okay, so I think what you're talking about here is it basically says if you can complete this mission in fewer than 8 turns, you get a bonus. If you have completed in more than 11, you get a penalty. And if you're in between, you're just fine. We were in between.
Yeah.
But for us, like right around where turn 6 or 7, I was like, dude, I don't know if we're going to make it. Like, it was really, really bad. And then we kind of found our lane and plowed through. You know, I mean, I'm playing this game, which means that my dice rolling is terrible. That's just how games work for me.
Sometimes.
And that's totally fine. But yeah, like, you know, like we both said, this game had weight. This game felt like it was not that it was work, but it was like when you do yard work or something like that and you're like, I did something, I exerted myself, I feel good about it. With this game, like we mentally exerted ourselves, we worked through the challenges, and we felt good about it in the end, and we did things of consequence.
It felt to me like a good D&D style combat.
Sure. I mean, mechanically very different, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Mechanically different, but sort of that moving the dudes around on the map, trying to figure out, oh, should I go this way and then we'll be able to flank and maybe that'll be a better, better idea.
Flanking this time,
or,
big time, yeah.
I'm really hurting. Can I just run away right now? All of that kind of stuff, along with the idea of your goal is not necessarily to kill all the guys. In fact, this scenario, it was not actually possible to kill all the guys. There was one thing that would keep respawning. And so it reminded me of the times that I've had a really good time with a D&D combat, that it felt meaty. It felt like I had something to do. It felt like I wanted to be there with my teammates, right?
Right.
That's why I'm saying good D&D combat, not one where, you all throw each other to the wolves. And so I liked that. And honestly, it is much simpler than your typical D&D combat, which I appreciate. I think my biggest concern right now is just there is a lot of mental overhead with this, and we have got to play it more often, because trying to devote 3 hours to something where the first hour of it is just me scratching my head constantly is not something I'm going to keep coming back to and doing over and over again.
Sure. No, I think that's fair. And look, I think what we're going to do is we're going to have our third play. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about it again. And that's really going to wrap up sort of the review portion of this whole thing. But at the end of that, we're going to talk about, are we going to keep playing this? Is this a game that we're going to keep coming back to because we want to see what happens? Asher's having a great time because it's the 3 of us that are playing. What that's going to look like for us, I'm excited to find out. I mean, I think we're having a great time. I mean, I can't even I opened this box of minis and I'm like, I want to fight that guy. I want to fight that guy. I want to fight that guy. But like, they're kind of daunting. Like when you think about, the level of enemies that we've gone up against, and they're in the small box.
Right.
The big ones are going to be pretty sketchy, pretty scary.
Pretty nasty.
But anyway, so that's gameplay number 2. Definitely an improvement. A little bit more organization is helpful. And yeah, we'll be right back. All right, and we are back, Anitra. It has been a few weeks, but only mere minutes for our podcast listeners.
Sure.
And we have just wrapped up our third play of Tidal Blades 2, Rise of the Unfolders. We played that earlier today.
We did.
So this means that we have, at this point, played through to the first interlude in the game. If you know, you know.
Yeah, we played the first 3 chapters, basically.
Yeah.
And we saw the first big boss.
Yes, we played and we fought a big bad. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about playing the game for the third time, our take on this game in general.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that we talked about the last time we played was we committed to, as part of this conversation, saying, look, is this a game that we're going to come back to and play more and more? Why not? Do we think so? Are we not sure? Like, how do we feel about this game? And, I think I'll save some of that commentary for a little bit later. But the thing I want to say at the top is, I think we all really enjoy playing this game.
I really, really enjoyed this game. I honestly wanted to keep going when we finished chapter 3, because it really led into more plot type elements, and then you're going to have this interlude. The interlude was going to give you some kind of a choice with a branching path for what to do next.
And a side quest, even. Yeah.
And all of that sounded really cool, and I really wanted to do it, but also at that point, we had been playing for 3.5 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I think at this point, it will be helpful for us to take a very, very quick kind of meta step back and talk about this game, what's up with this game in the greater universe of Tidal Blades and Naviri and all this stuff. So Tidal Blades 1 was, this beautiful, brand new intellectual property from Druid City Games and Mr. Cuddington, who's kind of the creative force behind this world. And it's gorgeous, and the world is so rich, and there's so much going on. Mm-hmm. They do the Kickstarter for Tidal Blades 2, and it's more than just this game. So they actually released an RPG core rulebook for this game, which really goes to tell you there's a ton of work that goes into the actual world of Naviri and what's going on and what is the fold and who are the Tidal Blades and like all this stuff. And you get hints of this in the first game. Right, you get kind of ideas like, okay, well, there's something going on, and there's definitely some kind of like world plot with protecting this place, and like you don't really understand what's going on. So there's this Kickstarter for this enormous game, which is Tidal Blades 2. Also, this core RPG rulebook, which has been released, and we even have a copy of that as well.
Yep, the Tidal Blades RPG.
Since then, there's been another game kind of off to the side, which was the Banner Festival game, which is a much smaller direct-to-retail game. But the reason why I talk about this is to say, like, this is intended to be an enduring property. Right? The world of Naviri and the world of Tidal Blades is intended to be something with stories. Like, I don't know anything about anything, but like, if there was a Netflix series for Tidal, like, it wouldn't surprise me. These kinds of things. Like, there is something here, and I think it is
graphic
actually
novels,
genuinely
something like
interesting.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not that much of a surprise to me when I look at sort of the greater context of what Druid City Games and then Skybound Games and now back to Druid City Games has done with this property. I actually don't even know who officially owns it at this point. I hope it's back to Druid City, but I don't know. But it's not that surprising to me to see the direction that it's gone with Tidal Blades 2 into really creating much more of a campaign-style game. Tidal Blades 1 was not that type of game. And we talked about this a lot, where there's an awful lot of setup and things you got to do in organization. And then you play like 5 turns and the game is over. And you're like, I don't feel like I made any progress. And that is so different here.
Well, and also the original Tidal Blades, Heroes of the Reef, the setting for it was mostly like you were training towards being these heroes, and you were just getting a little taste of what it was to fight the monsters that would sometimes come.
So you're in training and you're like about to become Tidal Blades, and then there's a big attack and you have to just defend for realsies. Yeah. So that's kind of the concept of that game.
I liked that game okay, but I always had a hard time kind of figuring out how the theme all fit together. Tidal Blades 2 does not feel that way. in part because it's a campaign game, so a lot more is explained and sort of gradually revealed, and it feels much more like a full fleshed out world that I can participate in.
Yes.
Whereas the first Tidal Blades just kind of felt like a whole bunch of stuff being shoved at me, and I'm like, I don't know what here is important and not important, and there are enemies and I'm just going to go fight them.
Yep.
Whereas Tidal Blades 2 feels to me more like really well done fantasy or science fiction where there's a bunch of terms that are thrown around, and in context they make sense. You don't need to know the entire backstory for everything, but there's elements of the backstory there if you want to dig deeper.
And there's clearly some foreshadowing that is going to explain what's going on a little bit later, and it might bring some of these things into a little bit more clarity. It's important to have understanding in very broad strokes, but you don't need to know the specifics. But it's clear that as time goes on, and as you get a little bit more of this narrative over the next, 18 to 22 missions, you're going to start to understand, and you're going to start to get it, and you're going to start to really appreciate those things.
Yeah, and I never felt any of that really with the first.
Oh, absolutely not. No, I totally agree. I think that, the success of games like Gloomhaven and then Seventh Continent and, all of these campaign-style games that have a heavy systems-based fighting component, because this has a system, the action grid and things like this. All of those games, I think, have really influenced what they wanted the product of Tidal Blades 2 to be. Yeah. And I think Tidal Blades 2 has really benefited from that. Yeah. I mean, I will say this without any reservation, Tidal Blades 2 is a better game than Tidal Blades 1, and it's not close in every way, except maybe the art, although the art is pretty dang cool in Tidal Blades 1, and clearly, it's the same characters in this game, right? So they clearly built on it. It's like when you watch the opening crawl of a Marvel movie in 2026, and you're like, man, look at all this cool stuff, and it's like, oh, wait, they've been building this for 15, 20 years, right? And so Tidal Blades 2 is benefiting from all of the work that was done before it, and that's okay, and that's fine. So let's talk about the strategy of the game a little bit. As we've gone on, and we've talked about, we played it 3 times, we made it to this interlude, we beat the first boss, we're seeing that there's things that we still haven't even really seen mechanically in this game.
Yeah, there is a ton to explore, not just story-wise, but there are mechanical elements that have been hinted at. In the campaign book, like when we left off, it's like, oh, hey, after the next chapter, we're finally going to get to see what it means to use items. And maybe we'll figure out how to spend some of this XP we've been earning, etc.
Well, we have spent some XP before, but yeah.
So it's really got an excellent progression thus far. It's doing a really good job building more complexity in gradually in a way that has kept it from feeling completely overwhelming. This related to, I know early on we talked about needing to refresh ourselves with the rules a lot, even on the second play. It just like, wait, how does this work? And how do we do this? And what does this mean? I think this time around in the third play, we definitely still needed rules refreshers.
For us, we were looking up the edge cases.
Yeah, it was more of the things that I expect to go back to the rules for, like, oh, wait, does this happen all the time or only when this card is revealed? Oh, hey, I see this symbol. I think it means this. Let's double check.
Yeah.
Instead of the just wash of there are so many symbols and they do so many things and what are we doing here? So it is starting to flow a little bit.
Yep.
If it flowed a little faster, then it would not take us quite so long to set up. But there's still a lot there.
There is. So here's, I think, what I'll say about this, which I think is really important. There is a place for this game in a family setting, even if there are going to be times when you're going to want to play this game and one or two or some number of members of the family are not present. It's going to make the game harder in some ways, and there's going to be a little bit more work that you're going to have to do to track. And here's what I mean. Everybody basically at the end of the scenario gets the same rewards.
Generally speaking, yeah.
So you can write down on a piece of paper, hey, when you come back, like you missed a session, when you come back, apply these rewards before we start the next session. Like you can do that, and that's going to be fine. There's going to be certain things. You pick up fruit over the course of a mission, and your fruit's not going to change from the mission before, right? So things like that. But every single scenario provides you with, if you're playing with this many players, these are the monsters that you put out in these places, or these are the things that you do or don't put on the board, etc. So you can flex from scenario to scenario which is incredibly helpful. It means the game's not pinning you to the wall to stick with your player count from the very beginning. And also, because of the way the reward system works, you can keep track of that stuff to accelerate someone's progress so that they're still up with you. Otherwise, they'd be so far behind, like one or two scenarios later, that it just wouldn't work.
There is the character-specific goals and rewards.
Yes. I mean, and they're going to lose on those. Like, there's nothing that you can do about that. We kind of talked about those last time.
Yeah. So I would say it kind of feels, honestly to me, like our son's D&D group. Pretty much every time they play, they're missing somebody, right? Like, that's just how these
They've started
go.
just going with one-shots for the most part.
But because of that, when they're not doing one-shots, it's like, oh, hey, this one person missed. Okay. The next time when they come back, hey, this is what you missed. If it was just one time, we probably don't need to change anything. If somebody missed a bunch of sessions or is coming in partway through, you're gonna have to do a few things to kind of level them up and get them closer to where everybody else is, just so it feels fair and it feels like they can actually make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
As it is, I am not quite as good at planning out some of the during game goal stuff for the specific rewards.
Mm-hmm.
So I already feel like I'm sort of falling behind you and Asher as characters go. Not to the point where it's bothering me, but I was complaining quite a bit in our game we just played, because I had a goal and I could not do it. I could not even attempt it. It was defeat an enemy with another player adjacent to the enemy. I managed to defeat one enemy the entire play session of 3+ hours.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, look, you did a lot of damage.
And
you just didn't deliver the killing blow.
I just never delivered killing blows to anything. And it's like, okay, well, if I had really been considering that I wanted to do that goal, then what I needed to do was back off at some point and then come in, like swoop in so I could deliver a killing blow for sure. But I was being a good team player. I'd just be like, we just got to take this guy out, whatever. It doesn't matter.
And you had to be adjacent and you delivered killing blows from range sometimes. So
the one killing blow that I delivered, yeah. So stuff like that where it was still fun for me and I was still eager to do it. But I think if I came in after missing a session or something, I would just be like, oh man, now I feel even further behind that you guys have all of these cool things and rewards you're using and I don't have those.
I mean, that's another thing that you can just agree to do as well. Like you can just say, look, you have pull a reward card, you've done one of the two. Pull a reward, you've done one or two. Like, you can manage around those things. And I think the key thing here...
I don't think it's unmanageable.
Yeah,
I agree
we could
you.
talk about the specifics of, like, how this gameplay went today, and I think some of that is valid, because that's, what we're talking about. But I think the key here is that we're evaluating this, and whether or not it makes sense to play this as a family. Right?
Yeah.
And at the end of this, I think, we'll come to some conclusions. I'm not entirely sure I agree with you, but I don't necessarily disagree with you either, which sounds weird. The important part is, if you're a family of 4 and you're trying to play this as a 4-player game, there's going to be times when someone's not around. It's real life. Like, life is busy. So is it possible to progress when someone is missing? And I think there's enough scaffolding here that the answer is yes. And that's really what I'm getting to.
It's not entirely the intention of the game, but it's certainly possible to work through it.
Well, again, it's not like here's the scenario book for a 3-player game, so that's what you work through, and then here's the scenario book for the 4-player game. Each individual scenario defines the setup and win conditions for a given player count. Yeah. And I actually think that's very important in terms of the context in which we're talking about.
Sure.
Yeah. All of that being said, I think we had a great time today. I mean, it was epic. We were fighting this giant... crab thing. It was basically Tomatoa from Moana, right? And there were these crystals that gave it like shielding, and then there were also like these smaller crab things running around, so we had to fight off the smaller crabs and destroy the crystals to knock down his shielding. But the dude had like 27 health, which just for, perspective, other enemies typically had like 6. Right? He hit super hard. He's running all over the map. We really had to work together.
Yes.
You're keeping somebody alive the whole time who's completely incapacitated. Like, this was an epic fight, and it was super fun. And we were all, getting bruised and battered. And ultimately, like, we were high-fiving. Like, this was a great experience.
Yeah.
It was really fun. And to your point, we spent 3 hours playing this game, and you wanted to keep going.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? And you're not I don't think this is a particularly heavy game. Like, it's medium high.
I am not big on the long games.
Yeah. But
generally, once we hit 90 minutes, I'm about ready to tap out.
yeah, but this kind of transcended that because it was such a fun, collaborative experience.
Yeah.
And it would have been less time if we weren't getting as interrupted. But again, family environment, right? And that's how these things work. So, that's kind of my thoughts on it. I'll let you sort of close out, I guess, and then maybe we'll wrap this up.
So if somebody asked me if I recommended Tidal Blades 2 for families, I would say probably not, unless you're going to have large blocks of time in which you can play together. Minimum 2 hours, 3 to 4 would be better, which means not playing it with young kids because they are not going to have the patience for this. They're just not. And it's really going to go best for you if you can play it on a regular basis and, if possible, keep it set up or mostly set up between plays.
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, the setup takes a while, and that was the part where we had to review the most because there's no way to keep all of the things you need for your character all together for setup. You can get close, but there's always going to be a couple of things you got to pull from here or there or everywhere. And that makes for a lot of overhead in just getting started again.
Sure.
So, most families, probably not. Some families, definitely yes. Like, I really, really like this game. It's not even really my style of game normally, but I have really enjoyed it every time that we've played. I would like to play it again. I would like to play it more. I'm not going to say to go through the entire campaign, but I would like to play it 1 or 2 more times, minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And since we are coming up on summer vacation, that might be a possibility.
It might actually happen, everybody. Yeah. I mean, look, admittedly, I am, weird to say this out loud, but I am the eternal optimist when it comes to certain things. I'm the dreamer, right?
Yes,
I'm the dreamer.
You're the dreamer.
How's that? So I would say I'm kind of on the flip side of the same coin. I would say, yes, I recommend this to families with a very heavy caveat, which is I'm recommending this to families who know that this is a big game that requires a commitment. And if you like those kinds of things, you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
So, and I think that is just speaks to who I interface with and who you interface with. And I think that's fair.
Most families I talk to in gaming contexts, this is not the right game for them.
Sure. And I totally understand that, and I totally respect that. But you nerds out there that are on Board Game Geek, that are looking for the next big adventure, this is the Christmas present for the 2027 adventure for the family, right? That kind of thing.
This is a cool adventure.
It's cool, man. It's awesome. If you can get those Sundrop minis, they're gorgeous. I mean, these battles are epic and fun, and I would literally was sweating it out. I'm I don't know how this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And it just,
and we
it's great.
Organically started teamworking our way through it of okay, no one person can do everything. So you're closer to this guy. Can you take care of that? I'm going to go hit the boss so the boss doesn't hit everybody.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
And then there's the noble point where I'm I actually have some shell shields. I'm going to stand in the way of the boss.
Yeah.
And my character is this little tiny guy. And this literally the mini was a fifth of the size of the of the boss. It was hilarious.
And another character kind of running by and be I'm not staying, but I can heal you a little bit on, on my way through.
Yeah. So I mean, it was just,
it was great.
It was awesome. It really was. It really, really was. The Tidal Blades team, Mr. Cuddington, James Hudson, whatever, unbelievable job. A+ production, mechanics are great. I love the action grid.
Yeah.
Fantastic. If you're into that big thing, you're going to love this game. And that's our topic this week.
Are we going to try to give this some sort of a rating, or are we just going to stick with a recommend?
There's going to be a written
caveat.
review that's going to echo all of these thoughts.
Okay.
It's going to come out within the next month. I need time to put this stuff together on air quote paper, but
man,
it is going to come out.
Taking photos for this is going to be so hard.
Well, get started because the written review is coming. But all right. So now that we're done with our topic, let's talk new backtalk questions. So last week we talked about the game or the game type that you can't help but buy.
Yes.
I took our son shopping today and I stopped in front of the ties and I had to pull myself away because I'm
because Andrew
whatever.
Also has this problem with ties.
I do. Okay. This week, what I want to do is flip that question around. What is the one game you really want, but you won't let yourself get? Maybe it's too expensive. Maybe you just know it will never get played in your house. Or maybe this kind of game doesn't even exist for you. How do you interact with your game collection in this way? Do you keep your collection small for reasons like this, or do you just get whatever you want to and let the chips fall where they may? So I can answer this question.
All right.
There are absolutely games that I will not allow myself to own.
Okay.
Because I know they will never get played.
Sure. Like Zolkin.
That might have been the game I was about to say out loud. Zolkin is a perfect example. It's a game that we used to own. I really love it. It just never got played in our house. The next one on that list would be Teotihuacan, which is the next of the big T games, which I think is very slightly simpler than Zolkin.
Yes,
but
it is.
I also knew it would never get played. I will never allow myself to own those games.
Sure.
Just because it would just I would own them because I like the idea of being able to pull them off my shelf in this bizarro situation where it was actually possible. And in any of those situations, I literally have 300 other games I could play.
Yep.
So I won't allow myself to own those games.
So interestingly enough, I will say, I think it's not really a single game, but a subcategory of games.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. I mean, that's legit here too. And I'm actually kind of glad that it helps our community recognize.
It's the flip side of the ones that I can't help buying. I can't help buying small games.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I focus so heavily on solo games or games with a solo mode when I buy small games is because I know I'll play them. So on the flip side, I'm super tempted all of the time when I see the Perplexed Paco games.
Okay.
Because they're tiny and they're cheap and the ones I've played have been fun. But the few that we've played once or twice as like a novelty, and then they never, ever get played again. Not even if I suggest them, just something about them. They don't work for our family. They don't work for us. And none of them are solo games.
I think to a degree, some of that is the out of sight, out of mind of it all.
Except that when I've pulled them out and been like, hey guys, let's play this one, it's always, nah, I don't want to.
Because we don't have the reminder that it exists, and it's like, oh, I forgot about that.
So that is one, our local game store sometimes has a display of them out there.
Mm-hmm.
I am so tempted every time. And I tell myself, no, it's not worth it, even for $6, because it's not going to get played. And I'm going to spend my social capital with the kids to get them to play games that are more important to me than that.
So I love that last thing that you said there, because I think that is so important for us, is this idea of, yes, there's a bajillion games out there, but we have a limited amount of time. And the best thing for us to do is to identify the things that are important to us and focus on those things instead of wasting time on the easy things. Right.
Sure.
And that's a life lesson that goes beyond board games. So I'm going to drop it there. But I do think that's incredibly important.
Yeah. I feel like that's a good way for me to put it, especially because as reviewers, important has a lot of layers to it.
That is a true statement. All right. Well, this is like a baklava backtalk question. Many, many layers. Kind of sweet. Absolutely delicious. So head over to the Backtalk channel on the Family Tabletop Discord. Or head over to the Family Gamers Facebook community to let us know what you think about this question. We will post it in both of those places. Of course, you can always find us all over the internet. Where in nature can people find us?
On pretty much all of the social media at Family Gamers AA. That includes Facebook and X and Instagram and sometimes TikTok and occasionally Blue Sky and Threads. And you can still find our videos and our podcast on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. I mentioned the Discord. You can head over to thefamilygamers.com/Discord to get directly into the Family Tabletop community. On there, it's not just us, it's a few other content creators that are focusing on family games. Of course, you can always email us, Andrew at thefamilygamers.com.
Anitra at thefamilygamers.com. Old school. We love you.
Mm-hmm. Please don't forget to subscribe to the show, tell your friends about the show, and leave us a review at Apple Podcast or whatever your podcast subscription source is. You can find us on Amazon Music, on TuneIn, on Spotify, and
on everything.
Kind of like Anisha said, on YouTube Music.
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
Our intro and outro music for the Family Gamers podcast is provided with permission from You Bred Raptors.
Prehistoric prog rock. Love it. All right, the Family Gamers is sponsored by First Move Financial. Go to firstmovefinancial.com/familygamers to learn how the team at First Move can help you pile up the victory points. like a dragon with its horde.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be it for us this week. So until next week, everybody.
Play games with your kids.